Here we go. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. For the first time on our channel, we have a new visitor, Jerome Anto, an RSS Karyakarta. Jerome, welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaste, and I'm glad to be on the show.
So a few words about Jerome in case you don't know him. Jerome Anto is a Bharatiya Christian, born and raised in a pious Roman Catholic family. Nationalist by heart, soul, and mind, and a die-hard RSS Karyakarta. He was born and brought up in Bengaluru. Highly vocal on debunking the false narrative about the Sangh Parivar by the minorities in particular and the external world at large, who have demonized this organization. You couldn't have taken up a better task than the last part, demonizing RSS, the organization. Before we jump into that part, Jerome, when you decided that you wanted to join RSS, how did your family react?
There was no. I do not know what do you want me to say in terms of the reaction, because there is no reaction at all. I would say it was pure acceptance, and unlike what the outside world says, we always believed, because we knew a lot of people in the Sangh, and it was always a welcome move. So unlike many others, we as a family accept the RSS. We're all part of the Sangh. So it's a very sorry.
I'm sorry. The reason I even brought it up is because I regularly get Savio Rodriguez on my Hangout. And Savio says that his mother receives 3 or 4 WhatsApp messages every day about how the minorities are in danger in India. And he says that, there is a constant barrage of this kind of information. How does that get countered? Because there are people who know what they have to do, like such as yourself. You know what RSS stands for, and you're doing that. But unfortunately, there is a whole lot of misinformation out there. How does one go about tackling that?
From a family point of view, we haven't received any kind of such negative comments, but we receive regular calls and mails, and a lot of discussions happen negatively on the negative part of the RSS, saying that the RSS is against the Christian community. Being a Christian, so Christianity has demonized the RSS. So much to also say that if you are part of the RSS, then you are as good as being with Satan.
You see, in general, if I can generalize it across the world, people going to churchgoers are on the decline. And in fact, there are churches in Europe that are virtually running empty. And the same is true of even United States. Many people have just stopped going to church. 30 years ago, when I was a student, my roommate in the office, we were students, and he was a Christian, and I would ask him, so how often do you go to church? Because I went to a university which was supposed to be called the church city of the United States. There are like the highest amount of per capita churches. And he told me that he went to church twice, once on Thanksgiving and once on Christmas. And that was it. And today, if you look at it, many people have stopped doing even that. So in general, there is a trend of not going to church. How do you see that in India? Do you think Indian Christians also are not going to church, not going enough? What is the feeling about, for me, I think that everybody needs to have spirituality. And the reasoning for that is very simple. When things are going good for you, You don't have to worry about anything else. It's when things are not going good for you that you need to dig deep within to find the strength to bear with it, cope with it, and overcome it. And that's where the spirituality aspect comes in. So perhaps you can share some thoughts on what you feel is happening with the Christian community in India.
Christianity in India, unlike the West, is taking a pure orthodox move. When I said orthodox move, the Christians are very religious. I'm not talking about spiritual. Very religious. They go to church regularly, and the churches are full. And in India itself, the church construct is different. Unlike Europe, where you have the major church, which is the Roman Catholic Church, then the Protestant Church, and the splinter churches, and all these churches are active. And I go to church every Sunday. We don't miss churches on Sunday. And when I was a child, I remember I used to go to church on a Sunday, on a Saturday, on a Friday, and on a Wednesday. We come from an Orthodox family, and my aunt is in the almost 95. She's going to be a centenarian, and she's a nun. And I have in my own family a couple of people who have left the priesthood and come out. So I come from a typical religious family, and it's the same. The culture, the thought process is the same in India. Across the churches, it is thriving. It's a thriving church. When I said thriving, I will really get into how this whole thing works. But then it's thriving and it's doing well. I'm not. It may not be spiritual, but it is religious. It's a mandate. You need to go to church, and there are enough reasons for all these things.
So, if you look at what happened after the CAA bill was passed, it was aimed at minorities, and minorities included Christians that were stuck in countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And yet, when I used to participate in debates on this topic, I found the Christians who were there representing Christians, they were not in favor of CAA. Now, if you look at the reality today, John, I have shared some tweets wherein there are ads saying that for sewer jobs, for really, really scavenging type of jobs, only minorities need to apply. These are official ads placed by government agencies in Pakistan. That's how bad the situation of minorities is. And yet, the people who used to come on these panels used to actually oppose the CAA. And I just couldn't understand. Here is India trying to help everybody. Why would they want to oppose it?
Sri, I do not know if you or any of the audience have seen the press releases that I have done. I've written a couple of articles also. I've written letters to the bishops. I've written letters to the CBCI president. And this was done much before there was uproar. I had written to the CBCI president saying that the CAA is pro-Christians. Please do not make any press releases. Please do not condemn them. In spite of all that, there were two bishops who spoke very, very openly in the media. One was the Goan bishop and one was the Bangalore bishop. I have taken them. I've written letters to them saying that on what context are you saying that the CAA is wrong? Because I remember, because we as a family, as I said, we go to church regularly, and we pray for Christians who are persecuted in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and other countries. And when the CAA is pro-Christians, why are you against it? I have not received any reply as of now. Incidentally, there were no Christian voices at all. This includes those Christians who are there in the BJP, Christian Minority Morcha presidents who are there, including a couple of ministers who were there in the BJP. They never spoke a word. Remember, there was Father Tom who was rescued from captivity. He should have spoken about what happens to those Christians. The nuns who were rescued, nobody spoke for the CAA. They just went hiding into the toilets. None of the Christians spoke. And these were the same Christians, these are the same Christian leaders, including the clergy, which were asking all these years to pray for all those persecuted Christians in all these countries. And when a law has been made, or when a bill has been passed and a law has been made to rescue them, these same people have become either mute or talking against it. So it is pure hypocrisy.
So why would they want to be hypocritical like that? What do they gain by running down something that is a blatant untruth?
Simple, because it is Prime Minister Modi who did it. If it was anybody else, it would have been accepted. Only because it was Prime Minister Modi who did it, whom they didn't expect, they demonized him, they witch hunted him all these years, saying that he is anti-Christian, and when he did something which is pro-Christian, they couldn't accept it.
See, the problem is these things have a way of finding themselves into the American narrative. There is this organization in America called USCIRF, and many people know about this. Now, they have not been given permission to come and see for themselves how much individual religious freedom exists in India. The government doesn't allow them to come and take a census or get the pulse. Yet, so what happens is they are relying on a few, choice, carefully selected people with whom they will publish that and pass it off as their own report. Unfortunately, by not allowing them to come to India, I don't know if the government is closing the door on them, or if should government of India also have its own version of the USCIRF and look at what is happening in the United States. After all, you're seeing this Black Lives Matter movement that has taken a life of its own, and it is now spread to the entire world. Initially, at least, the Black Lives movement, Black Lives Matter, was a genuine cause, but then it got hijacked. That's a different story. We'll not talk about that. But my question to you, sir, is how does one break this cycle? Because I have been screaming at the top of my head that the USCIRF, which is a taxpayer-funded body, should really start looking at the truth and not take some narrative and run with it.
I don't think so. We as Indians, we don't need any certificate from the United States on the religious tolerance. And as far as the religious tolerance is concerned, we are not a tolerant country. Hindus are not a tolerant country. We are a country which has accepted every religion. Only recently we become tolerant. There's a difference between tolerant and acceptance. As a country, we have accepted every religion. This is the only country in the world where every minority, every ethnicity which has sought refuge has got the kind of help and refuge in this country. Take it the Parsis, take it the Jews, take it any other religion. They have been given the shelter and the need and the help that they wanted. So if you look at it, the ones which actually have been deprived of religious freedom, I'm sorry to say that, it is the Hindus. The majority Hindus.
Yes, indeed. And for a long time, they have been taken for granted. And only now the Hindus are beginning to find their voices. Now let's cut to a slightly more, happening thing. Jerome, if you look at some states, for example, Tamil Nadu or Andhra Pradesh, a lot of conversion is rampant. And for the most part, this is done as simple as, paying money to do the conversion. Sometimes it is done with a promise of something better. Unfortunately, this is not legal in many states, and yet this thing continues. How do you, as an RSS Karyakarta, see this? And how do you think, the Hindu organizations, who are the ones who are actually at the brunt of this, they are losing, the battle. How do they need to educate people about why they should be converting? There may be any number of slights, perceived slights, insults, whatever you want to call it. But as a country, India needs to have a narrative And India needs to have the freedom of choice for people to choose whatever religion they want. But there should not be any coercion. What are your thoughts on that?
India has close to a billion Hindus, non-Abrahamics. We are close to 1.3 billion people, out of which close to 1 billion are non-Abrahamics. And these Hindus generally are the target audience, and it's a good audience to poach. It is a good audience. If you look at those who are getting converted, 70% of them, 70% of the Christians in India are the backward classes, the tribals, the Dalits. Okay, there is a false narrative, there is a false promise, there is a false propaganda that has been spread with all these people, the backward classes, saying that you are, I mean, they've been told that they've been victimized, because as per Hindu tradition they have there are different classes, and these are the downtrodden ones. And in Christianity there is no any of these classes. But the irony is this. Hello.
Yeah. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
The irony is this: these same tribals who get converted, the 70% of the total volume of Christians who are there in India, who are the backward classes, once they come into Christianity, the casteism doesn't end. They are still the same. The church today, you'll listen to this hypocrisy. The church today is saying that they're going to fight for their rights, the Dalit rights, the backward classes rights. Isn't it an irony? Because they actually converted, saying that there is no caste system in Christianity. But if you look at it, there is pure caste system. The same caste system is brought into Christianity also. Keeping that in mind, I also want to add to this: if there are 70% of Christians who are from the backward community, it is strange to see that how many bishops are there from the backward community? Hardly 5%.
That's a very, very small number. In fact, I'm sorry, I thought you had finished. Please continue.
Yeah,
Please continue.
5%, and there is no Dalit cardinal as of now in India. There is no Dalit cardinal, which means that the upper caste, the caste system is just transferred from wherever they were to Christianity. It is just nothing but a face wash of conversion. So let's stop this narrative of saying that there is caste system in Hinduism, there is no caste system in Christianity. The same thing is brought in here.
There was an article in the 80s, 35 years ago, in India Today, which said the same thing, that converted Christians are treated exactly as per what their original caste was. And at that time, there wasn't this kind of polarization in terms of a religious context. It wasn't there at that time, and people found that article very, very revealing. It wasn't mentioned in public at that point of time. But what is interesting is that this continues to happen, and there's also some exploitation of what I would call as rights, meaning, like, when it comes to government jobs, some of the people who belong to the scheduled caste continue to use those benefits, and they also say they are Christians. So there is this dual identity of a person, and this is, in my opinion, pure hypocrisy. They want to eat the cake and have it too. How does one try to solve this problem? I mean, I have no problem if somebody wants to convert to Christianity because they feel like that gives them a better direction in life. That is their choice. But why are they not giving up their previous set of benefits?
The reason is this: to coin that word, there is something called as these same Hindus or non-Christians, they convert with the same names. They don't change.
Yes.
It's called the crypto Christians. And believe me, everybody is going to fall off their chairs when the census results come next year. The percentage that is being spoken about, that there is only 2% of Christians in India, is wrong. As you said, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh in the south, and Kerala, of course, and then now, as I mentioned earlier, it is going upwards. South is taken over. There are enough Christians. There is enough seeding that is being done, and Christianity is growing in numbers. If you look at the news, I do not know if you receive news about what happens in India. The amount of collusion that is happening now in politics, and with a lot of Christian backing, you will understand that it is very prevalent, and it is thriving. It is thriving because today Christians are playing a huge role in political decisions making, and the politicians also are patronizing them.
So the reigning wisdom is that if somebody converts, say, from Hinduism to Christianity, that they will vote en masse as a bloc. However, my reading is that as a community, the Christian community is well educated. Many of them are professionals, and when somebody comes from, go ahead, please go ahead.
And brainwashed. I've been very upfront. This is the fact. Sorry, I was very compelled to tell that.
Please go ahead.
Educated, religious, church going, and brainwashed is something that I really wanted you to add.
So to question that brainwash part, what is it that the Modi government has done in 6 years that points to the minorities being at some sort of a disadvantage? If anything, the Hindus are saying that you guys are adding more SOPs. I mean, I'm just making an observation. I'm not saying they are right or wrong. What is it? Go ahead.
I will vouch your point. I'm so sorry to say that I'm very disappointed at the way this government has handled that section, because there is only more benefits that is being given. I am really sad to see that this political party, which has come from 2014, is no different from the earlier government, because they also are doing all this appeasement work. So nothing has changed. Everything remains the same. Unfortunately, the present government doesn't realize that they came to power because of the Hindu backing. It was not the minorities. The minorities will not vote Modi. Modi is the head of all the Satans. People should know that this is what is being taught. This is what is being preached in all the churches, and the general Abrahamic religion. Generally, when I said the Abrahamic religion, you have two primary religions in this country. Both of them tell that Modi is Satan, and they will not vote him. But unfortunately, it's a very sad thing that the appeasement has not stopped. It is very, very disappointing to see this.
But see, you have to have some facts to say that Modi is a Satan. So you have to associate some acts of his that would say, okay, he did this, and therefore he should not be voted in. What are the facts? I'm still looking for them. It cannot be one church window pane being damaged by a drunk and then that being, hung on the neck of Modi government. I mean, these are stray cases. There was no situation or no event that happened in the last 6 years that would straight out say that a particular minority was disadvantaged.
So this is a narrative that is being spoken for, I think, from the time of independence, because from the time the Sangh has been there, because Modi is a Sanghi also. So since the Sangh is associated with the BJP, or these are sister, or these are all in the same group, it's been preached on the pulpit saying that he is a Sanghi, and we will not be able to survive. Believe me, from 2014, there was so much of messages, mails, meetings, conferences being held with only one thing, saying that Christians will not survive since 2014. After 2014, if Modi comes to power, said Christians will not survive. And it is 6 years, nothing has changed, and everything remains the same, or it has only made things better.
But again, I go back to the root point that there is no evidence of having been targeted for what their religious beliefs are.
No, see,
How long can you
that
keep
is
up
not,
this fake narrative? Is what I think I'm
that is
asking
not,
is,
okay. You're putting words in my mouth. Okay, I will open up now. I will try to be as what do you call that? As I'll mellowed on as much as possible. This is the handiwork of the party which was there in power prior to 2014. Okay, every time there's an election, if you see the elections from the time the BJP Vajpayee government has come, the BJP has come from 2 seats onwards. There's always a song being played, everywhere, every meetings, every conferences, every election time, saying that if Modi government comes, there is going to be some kind of a threat for Christians. This happened, if you look at it, even before the BJP came, during the time of Moraji Desai also, during the time of Moraji Desai, when there was an anti-conversion bill that was proposed, a private bill that was proposed, there were a lot of noise saying that this is the Jansang, and the party which is going to come is not conducive for Christians. So that's a narrative that's been played, and I think it's played very well. It's concocted very well, and it is sold very well to the Christians, to the minorities in India, and to the Western world.
see, I think I'm trying to reach out to many in the Christian community who I'm hoping will watch this video, and I think they need to think for themselves. How is this government impacted them in their careers, in their lives, in any other way that they are going about in their lives? Yet, why hate somebody when that person hasn't done anything bad? I mean, I'm curious, guy, Jerome. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to think that you have to have some reason for hating somebody.
I don't have an answer because I know what the answer is. It is pure hatred uh, towards the Hindu community,
But
and
again,
the rise of the Hindu community is that's a narrative that has been told, which also is wrong because if you look at it, the Hindu community has always accepted and tolerated every religion. But then I think this is purely a political narrative that is played well, and it is used very well, and to a large extent, a lot of clergy are hand in glove in politics because these are the shepherds who tell the sheep what needs to be done. So all the false propaganda are being preached by the clergy. I'm not talking about one particular church, across the churches. Every church talks the same language, saying that if the BJP comes to power, we'll be in trouble. And these same people will stand in the queue during the elections, saying that I have so many people who can vote for you. So it is a pure political agenda, the political propaganda that is used to create hatred towards Modi. And Modi has not realized it. Has not realized it. Sorry to say that.
so let's turn our attention to what happened at Palghar. So I do not condone what they attempted to do. That is, there was a lockdown in place, and they were trying to somehow cross state lines and go somewhere. That was an offense. I'm not condoning that part. However, when they were caught, they were literally lynched. And for some strange reason, not one church, clergy, or anybody has issued any condemnation of this dastardly incident. Here you are trying to blame the majority community of lynching, and when there is a proof of lynching, how come, aren't we human beings first? I mean, that's what I'm asking. Why isn't any church community organization saying that what happened there was wrong?
Why would they do it? Why would they do it?
You see, I'm hoping that not every bishop, not every pastor, every father is thinking along the same line. God has given us brains. We have to think, right?
No, beyond the thinking, it's pure humanity, right?
Right.
We talk about universal brotherhood, right?
Yes.
And brotherhood, when he said, I'm not talking about that brotherhood. I'm talking about the universal brotherhood where everybody is equal, and Christianity propagates the idea of universal brotherhood, right? But then this brotherhood is, it appears to me that it is only to a certain religion only. When it comes to the majority Hindus, it is not included. Probably they're very scared to open up and tell all these things, is what I see. Because there may be a few priests, a few clergymen who would want to voice it out. But because of the hierarchy, because of the kind of the kind of vertical what is there and what kind of backlash they would receive, they would want to keep quiet. Incidentally, even the CAA, not a single clergyman spoke for it. And rather, in fact, when I wrote to the CBCI president, I told the CBCI president, you may not want to promote it, but don't condemn it, is what I told. In spite of that, they went and condemned it. In fact, you know what, the audacity of the bishop, he says, I want the prime minister to withdraw the bill immediately. This is the audacity, it is on record, without even knowing the content of the bill. Legalities, does he know the legalities of it?
Let's move on to a slightly different topic, because you've been doing some really fundamental, groundbreaking work as part of the Hindustani Christian Manch. Would you like to share a little bit about what you do in this organization and what kind of success you've had thus far?
So basically, we are a group of Christians who are basically nationalists. And what we do is this: we look at things which is pro India for the country. So in the process, we have received a lot of backlash from a lot of Christians because we don't agree, or we don't subscribe to their idea of India, because the rest of the Christians want something called as a Christian India, right? But we are pure nationalists. We want to live the way we are, and we condemn conversion. We condemn things which are anti-India. So the success is not very good, because as I mentioned earlier, Christians are basically brainwashed. Okay, and whatever they say, end of the day, on a Sunday mass, whatever is being told is what they will eat and digest.
So how
The
does
numbers
Sorry, go ahead. Please finish.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So the principal idea was because there is a lot of hatred on Christians by Christians on the RSS. What we were planning to do was to have a Christian Manch, because we also know that the RSS was trying to form a Christian Manch. But unfortunately, what we read in the last few years is they've been trying to reach only the clergy, okay, which is not correct, because the clergy is very clear. It is an enterprise for them, and the enterprise will be doomed. So I always have advocated the idea that please do not reach the clergy. The clergy will not move an inch. It's an enterprise. The church is an enterprise in India, like the way it has happened across the world. So they will not subscribe to the idea of Sangh. So what I've been preaching, I've been working on is to get the grassroots level ready. When I said the grassroots side ready, what I meant, why I said that was because there are people, nationalists, who have sympathy, who have soft corner towards the RSS, and they do not want to come forward purely because they're scared of the clergy and the society, which will demonize them. So the idea of forming the Hindustani Christians is to have a few members who probably would build up to the Christian RSS Christian Manch. On the same lines, the idea is not to create a faction in the RSS. Okay, the idea is to give the comfort zone to Christians, saying that it is an organization which is secular, which is not a militant or whatever the West thinks about. We because there is a lot of narrative, lot of propaganda about the RSS saying that it is militant organization against the Christians and all that. So we want to diffuse that, and the best way is to be part of this team. So I've been trying to work with a lot of Christians who think like me and be part of this group. However, the
That's a
success rate is not very good.
No, you have to start somewhere, Jerome. See, my concern is, as a country, India is suffering from the misdeeds of the lumpen lot, whoever it is. Now, if you look at the Christian community, they are not like, in a bubble where they are immune from the problems that the other communities are facing. For example, Love Jihad, a church has written to the Prime Minister saying about 6,000 Christian girls were forcibly converted into Islam. So this is not something that is only with the Hindus. Christians also are being sucked into this. Another problem, I'll tell you, the four blasts that happened in Sri Lanka, it is now established beyond doubt it was done by a terror module that perhaps trained and got all their things from Kerala and Tamil Nadu. There will be a lot of arrests also. So basically, what I'm seeing is that, you know across the world, outside of India, the Christians were fighting the Muslims, but in India, these two groups get together to fight Modi. But the problem is, Christians are still getting the wrong end of the stick. When are the Christians going to wake up and smell the coffee?
Because for now, an enemy's enemy is a friend. Okay, it's an irony to see that these two Abrahamic religions have killed each other, murdered each other across the globe, are very friendly here. The Christians don't realize the danger they're getting themselves into. And it would be someday it will be a very shocking thing, because once a certain level is reached, the sword will come on the Christians.
In fact, I'll throw you one statistic that is very alarming. 100, if you take 100 new childbirths in Kerala, 44 are Hindu, 42 are Muslim, only 14 are Christian. And you can see that as a community, Christians are perhaps not having a lot of children, and that they are slowly becoming not a non-entity in the politics of that state. And that doesn't augur well for them. They need to choose what it is that they need to do to preserve themselves and to thrive in this community. I mean, you look at the whole of India, right? Christians are the ones who have been running a lot of educational societies, and very well at that. I mean, a lot of us have gone to, either it is a Catholic school or a Jesuit run school. Everybody learned everything, and that is fine. But now the future is looking very dicey.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So my hope is that, rather than looking at PGurus as a right-wing channel, I'm hoping that because you've been on this panel today, that a few independent-minded people from the minorities look at this and say, look, this person has something to say, that there is a bigger thing. Today, whether we like it or not, after the Westphal consensus, I think somewhere in the 17th century, everybody is a human being first, then you belong to a particular nation, and then you are something else. You are a Christian, you are a Hindu, you are a Jew, you are a Muslim. But the national thing is in the middle, and that is something that everybody needs to understand.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, agree, fully agree.
So, in conclusion, if there's anything that you would like to share with our viewers, please go ahead, because we are coming to the end of our talk session, and then we'll take some questions.
See, first of all, the West needs to know that what they hear and say is only typecasted and sent to them. I know a lot of Westerners, I know a lot of people in the West who ask questions saying that how come you as a Christian, are you safe? Is there religious freedom? A lot of questions which I myself am shocked to hear, which is not the fact. I know at least a few of them who come to the US, who go to the UN and cry, shed crocodile tears about what happens in India, which should not be believed. Please do not believe them. There is a lot of propaganda that is being built, and I'm sure you and I know who these people are. These are people who head Indian churches, people who head ecumenical centers in India. But they're all false preachers. They are only singing a false song. Please do not listen to them. The fact is different. Christians, the Abrahamics, are far living a better life in this country than any other country in the world. I can vouch for that. This is including the most remotest of places in India. So it's a false narrative. The West, especially, should know that it is a propaganda which is against this country, against India. Do not trust this propaganda. And do not trust the false crocodile tears which is shed by a few people who go to the UN, who go to the United States and speak about who badmouth India as a country.
Thank you for those finishing remarks, Jerome. We have a few questions that I'd like to have you answer. The first question is that, churches and religious organizations run by minorities enjoy a lot of benefits, whereas the Hindu organizations neither have these things nor do they provide it, because most of those are being run by government. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, see, the churches are independently run. The government doesn't interfere in them. But the Hindu religious institutions, government wants a pie of that. And so there is also this discord. How do you see that problem as a Christian?
Isn't it pure discriminatory? Isn't it discriminatory? I'm not okay. You don't have to talk about Christians. I'm talking about the other minority religion also. The other major minority religion in this country also has the same privileges. Same privileges. In fact, they have better privileges than the Hindus, which is a contrast to the right to equality, which is written in which is the principal right in the Constitution. There is no equality, which is a highly discriminatory. It's a highly discriminatory, and thanks to a lot of clauses in the Constitution, which has been dabbled upon and used to extract all these facilities by the minority. Unfortunately, I do not know what could be done, but because I know, in fact, I am working with a few people to challenge a few of the laws which is discriminatory. We'd rather have a uniform civil code, right? A uniform civil code, which means that everybody is treated equal. These laws are discriminatory.
So, Pratik Patil has a question. What do you think is the actual percentage of Christians in Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Punjab, and Odisha?
The official numbers, which has been very conveniently narrated across the country, is around, I think, 2.3%. But take it from me, it is easily 5%.
Double of that.
Including crypto Christians. I'm talking about the crypto Christians. People who have names like Iyer, Ramesh. All these are Christians. Okay, so they want to have both the share of both the facilities that has been available. And these are the same people. These are the same people who have pseudo-names, who have these crypto names, and then they talk ill will about the Hindu. So the general Janta thinks that, oh, a Hindu is talking against the Hindu, but actually speaking, he's actually not a Hindu.
So for those of you who don't already know this, a famous set of Iyengars have become Christians. This is the great family of Kamal Hassan and his brothers. And from what I hear, that even Maniratnam Iyer, who's a director, perhaps he's also a Christian. I don't know for fact about that, but that's what I've heard. So the thing is, there may be some dissatisfaction with your current religion. There's nothing wrong in that. You have to look at what exactly is the problem, and seldom is a religion, especially something like Sanatana Dharma, which is a scientific religion. So it is our own ignorance of what the religion tells us that makes us, meaning me as Hindu, to seek this elsewhere. But whatever it is, that is something that's a long-term, long drawn-out process. And you're doing an excellent job. You are like the tip of the spear. You are realizing something. You're doing something that you think is right and for the country. Because, like I said, we are human beings first, and then we are nationalists, and then we are something else, something else, and something else. So thank you very much, Jerome, for
Absolutely.
sharing your thoughts on this hangout. And we hope to have you back for more such illuminating conversations.
Absolutely. I'm most happy and most welcome. I look forward to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.